Welcome back to CS 107. This is week 13. We're going to cover how to create your own creative quiz app. So this will be a relatively short video today. We'll just be covering the components of the creative quiz app that you need to create. As a reminder, the homework is a continuation from last week, and the assignment is to complete Code.org CSP Lesson 5 through Puzzle 10. It's not the entire thing, it's just through Puzzle 10. Corny joke of the week: why can't your nose be 12 inches long? Because then it would be a foot. Alrighty, as always, Rothman's office hours, 5 to 7 by appointment. Free to email me, message me if you can't make Thursdays 5 to 7. You can catch up with Natalia and Ayla Monday and Wednesdays from 4 to 5. Still using Piazza. If you have questions, please post them there and get back to you as soon as we can. So for an overview of the Creative Quiz app, you're basically going to replicate a lot of the things that you saw in week 12 when you followed the tutorial of the Creative Quiz app. Let's discuss some of the things you'll include. So some requirements are you've got to have at least 3 questions that have 3 connected answers. It'd be ideal if you had 3 images that related to the questions and answers. You'll need some sort of answer text field for the user to write their answer in. A answer button, so perhaps I need to adjust that a little bit. You need an answer button, a next button to move to the next question, a reset button so someone can start their quiz over. You should be keeping score. You have the choice of just 1 score. You could do 2 score variables that track right answers and wrong answers. Some optional things that you might add to your Creative Quiz app are a text-to-speech component where the program will tell you whether it will read out whether you're correct or incorrect. You could actually also have it read the question, or you could have it read the answer. Those are a bunch of things you could add. You could really try to trick people and have them read the answer as a hint. Maybe that's something to add, a hint. You can have a random question button, which could be the 3 set questions, could be an additional question. Add some additional screens. An intro and a sort of end screen is always good. Maybe there's some screens that help people learn or like give some background. Like for a question, if someone doesn't know it, they could read up on it. That'd be a cool optional customization. You could add a timer that will give the user a set amount of time per question or a set amount of time for the entire quiz, and it could count down. That'd be really cool. Any additional customization that you feel makes sense. Alrighty. So there's a handout. You do not need to turn it in, but I do think it's helpful in planning, and it will very simply ask you before you get too deep into this to do some planning around what your questions would be, your answers, and what the set images are. Once you get it sort of planned out, you should start building your app. I'm going to suggest to you the first thing you should do is build your user interface, which would have something like an image component, text box, next button, answer button, question label, score label. Those are some things to put into your user interface. Obviously, it might be a little different if you're planning on having more screens. Some things you're definitely going to need to do are to initialize an index variable. Usually initializes to 1. Score variable probably initialize that to 0. You're going to need 3 lists at a minimum: an image list, a question list, and an answer list. So that's the first programming I would suggest that you do. You got to think a little bit about your quiz navigation. So something that's going to be really helpful is when it may not be screen 1, but the first screen that wherever your quiz takes place, when it opens, I think this event, the screen 1 opens, or whatever your screen is really useful, because that will guarantee that the question that you want to show up first, the image, I guess that's not written directly onto this screenshot that I've got there, but you might want to have the question label, the image component set to a specific image, and then of course your index label, which you don't need to have, but I actually think that's extremely helpful for sort of tracking where you are in your app and making sure it's working correctly. You can, or rather, the next thing I would suggest to do is build your quiz navigation. So it's as simple as having a next button that would change the index variable and thus change the image and the question and the answer it needs to be checked against. And then think about how you either want to loop your quiz or end your quiz with a certain question. So build those into the next button. And sort of something we've talked about the last couple of weeks is there's a way if you're concerned about looping, or as you should be, a way to do that is to check if the index is equal to the length of list. And there's a specific block that's essentially a method or a function of checking how long a list is, and you can use that block to check in your conditional. Next thing I would suggest programming is checking the answers against a list. Again, this is pretty much straight from last week. So you're going to want to check that the text input is equal to the answer list at a particular index place. And something that's going to be really helpful is this uppercase, lowercase block, so that you're making sure that whatever is inputted, that it doesn't need to be case sensitive, or maybe you want to leave that out and make it case sensitive. Either is fine, but I think this is a little easier for users personally. Make sure that you have a reset procedure. So what are the things that should be, where do you want to, what should be reset? Probably your variables and the images and questions and whatnot. Or you may want it to just go back all the way to the intro screen if you have that. It's up to you. Of course, you'll need a button for that to, and a button event essentially to call the procedure. Think about adding in your additional customizations. So a lot of cool things you can add. Really looking forward to what you create. Things like text-to-speech, random questions, intro and end screens. I went through that a little fast, sorry, but timers. I think you can do a lot of really cool things with the timer. You're going to add your completed project to the Padlet. I'll put the links on Canvas, but this one I believe probably enough people will get into. Enough people will have like unique projects that'll be worthwhile for us to play around with those and give them feedback. One more time, the homework, which is lesson 5, CSP lesson 5, puzzles 1 through 10, and focuses on creating, they call it functions, and they make a really good note. So a function is a procedure. They're essentially synonymous, and procedure is sort of a generic term, and function is, in this case, specific to JavaScript, which is what we're using in code.org. Alrighty, so this week, your task is the create a quiz app. You gotta add your app to Padlet. You need to finish up the homework, which is CSP lesson 5, puzzles 1 through 10, and as always, the week 13 survey. Have a great week. If you have any questions, please email me, Padlet, or come to office hours. Take care.